Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a very active weather pattern that will be occurring across the medium to long range forecast. And right now we don't really have any big storms that are imminent. I do want to say though that there is quite a bit of activity across the west and the southwest potentially that will be occurring a bit earlier than this pattern further eastward across the rest of the country and kind of the watch area. So some of these storms will be bringing heavy snow. Some days like today, I went outside and it was 50 degrees, and I was like, wow. I mean, I can't believe on such a beautiful day that there we're still in late February and we still have probably some snow ahead of us historically speaking. If you're to look at the records, and for some areas this could mean probably big winter storms, maybe even the biggest ones of the year, as spring is extremely volatile, and I'll show you why the pattern that we have setting up could be conducive of some very large winter storms and potentially slash unfortunately some severe weather as well. So before we get into this, I do want to say that if you are new to this channel, hello and welcome. I talk about the weather and I love making weather videos, right? I'm a hobbyist, enthusiast, not professional meteorologist. For professional info, I always go to the National Weather Service. I just like to voice my thoughts and opinions on here. Alright, so if you guys are still watching, let's start talking about this this upcoming pattern change. So first off, I want to show you the National Weather Service Weather Ready Nation map. So this is a map of all the warnings, advisories related to severe weather, winter, everything, right? And do note that it's actually relatively quiet, and that's good. Actually record almost quiet across the United States. There is quite a bit of unsettled weather across the Northwest, as really the caption says right there. So that's you can see a lot of colors, avalanche warnings, flash flood watches, lots of rain, some snow, but mainly rain for a lot of locations. Southwest, high and dry. Same with the east, really the southeast. We do have some river flood warnings in wake of the heavy rain, but overall, it's a very quiet pattern. So let's zoom in on the Northwest and let me show you this. So notice there has been already quite a bit of rain that fell across these locations. Notice that into the future there will be many locations, especially the higher elevations, the mountains, where they're able to squeeze out some of that moisture. You could see we have quite a bit of rain, and that includes Idaho Panhandle, extreme western Montana, and portions of Washington and Oregon, but mainly it's to the north, the heaviest of it. Let's take a look at a city like Seattle, one of the largest cities in Washington, the capital. Let me take a look on land. I just clicked on the sea there, so that's why it was like a marine format. But notice that the rain, this really just lives up to the, Seattle's, reputation. You can see rain, 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 rain. And the amounts each day won't be torrential, but, on top of each other, these added up will be a bit of a concern. And you can see that the long-range pattern also conducive of many wet conditions and many bouts of precipitation and rain. Let's take a look at this flood warning, and you can see that precipitation amounts in the last 24 hours have been in the 3 to 5 inch range, right? So it's been already very, very heavy raining there for past 24 hours, and you saw that the next week is going to be filled with rain, so there's no real break for the Northwest from that. So let me show you now the GFS model, and starting to show you this active pattern that I think may be taking shape. I do want to say that we do have a bit of activity off the coast of Florida, the southeast right there, but that's going to really zoom off the coast, not provide anything too big in terms of active or unsettled weather. Notice we do have a clipper straddling the U.S.-Canadian border. It kind of moves into Quebec, and really does bring a bit of snow showers into the northeast on Wednesday into Tuesday, but again, nothing too significant. And look, there's that extremely active pattern right across the west. But with that, streaming moisture into the west, the northwest specifically, notice what we have across the rest of the country. See those blue lines and these red lines? I don't know if you could see that, but that's basically where the cold air is. Below 32 degrees is this last line. It's called the 540 line. And anywhere, the further south and west you go, you will be seeing warmer air. And you can see that they're really fighting it out to really across the Midwest. They set up like this front, right? And they're just battling out. Look at this. very unchanged. We have this tight baroclinic zone, and what we see happening in the next few days is obviously this warm air getting pumped up. I mean, we have a lot of warm air here, and just to show you that the temperature anomalies are going to be very, very warm here, but also do note that we have a clash of air masses, right? We have very cold air towards the north, so this is conducive of big storms that could, be bringing severe weather on the warm side, heavy rain, and heavy snows and bitter cold with winds on the north side. I mean, a classic setup. And do note that we have that storm that's moving across the northwest. Look how long-lived it is. Wednesday, Thursday, still occurring right there. And into Friday, it starts moving away, but it starts impacting potentially areas like California, Nevada, Washington, really exiting Washington, same with Oregon, but Montana, Idaho, starting to pick up on this, and with all that flow, especially with the aid from the Gulf of Mexico, we see this warm air finally push through this very cold, stubborn air, not without some freezing rain because of how the air masses work. Warm air overrides the cold air. Warm air. I think I said warm air. I don't know, but notice that we do have some ice potential there into Minnesota. Quite a bit of rain on the south side of this system. A little bit of band of snow that could be actually pretty intense because of the air masses that are kind of squeezing against each other, producing, again, a very heavy band of snow. Brief, but it's there. And then notice this is far out, right? This is Friday into Saturday, but we see a lot of moisture streaming off the coast of California into the west. And look at that, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska picking up some snow right there. Not too well organized, this system, but notice that by the time late Saturday occurs, we have that freezing rain threat still occurring across much of the Wisconsin, northern Michigan, southern Canada area. The the cold front isn't too well developed, so that the severe weather threat is limited. But notice quite a bit of rain where that warm sector is, quite a bit of snow on the north side, and look, we see continued battling of the air masses. We have very cold air towards the north, very warm air towards the south, steering moisture in from the Gulf of Mexico. So this next system is also going to be very potent, and this is where the pattern starts getting very interesting. And I'll show you these storms and what each model thinks, right? Because I just want to say that don't pay attention to the real details here. Be like, oh, Green Bay, Minneapolis are right on the cusp of that ice and rain. It's not going to be a snowstorm. It's too early to tell. This thing could jump around quite a bit, and the main, again, point of this video is just to show you an active pattern that's coming, not to focus on any particular storm. And I want to show you why this pattern could be very active and why it's set up that way. So 6 to 10 day outlook, it's from the March 6th through the 10th, so where this kind of when this pattern is going to be taking shape. When this first storm occurs, it is literally March 6th, that timeline. So this is right when we're entering that active pattern. And notice we have these extremely strong air masses. Here they're confident it will be cold. Here they're confident it will be warm. And then you're in between. These storms will take shape and ride between them. And what these do is they're very conducive for storm development. And notice that towards the south, really a good portion of the country is above average, and especially across the kind of western Tennessee Valley into Arkansas, the Ozarks, above average precipitation. So these storms have a lot of fuel to work with and will obviously be depositing it across a good portion of the country, especially right here in that warm sector. So that is definitely something to watch for. Notice a lot of the west coast potentially being drier in that 6 to 10 day outlook. 8 to 14 days, so this is a bit further out, kind of in the peak of the active pattern. And notice it's still these battling air masses, the cold air pretty abundant, actually spilling towards the south and east, and above average still there, so indicating that wherever we see that cold and above average overlapping, especially since it's still early March, we'll probably see quite a bit of snow across some of those locations, heavy snow in the long range. Notice this storm passes through, and you just saw that jump through. I did not want to show that yet, but regardless, there's that system, right? It's pretty weak once it exits. Does most of its snowing across the west. But look, we see another system that this time has a lot of more access to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's cold front, it's nasty. It's potentially severe loaded, severe weather. These storms do not look good. They look very healthy, unfortunately. And look, some snow on the north side, nothing extreme, but definitely a few inches, if not maybe up to a foot in some areas. And then you think that's it? Nope. We see again that northwestern side of the cold air bringing in a little piece of energy. The Gulf of Mexico right here bringing in a lot of moisture. These two systems right here don't really connect. You can see it does show a bit of snow on the north side and some rain there for maybe the northeast. So something to watch for definitely. But then this one starts getting acted up, and you can see another system potentially bringing snow further towards the south, quite a bit of rain towards the south and east. Again, another system moving in, quite a bit of cold air in the wake of that one, but then we have a quite a bit of I guess, a push of warm air. So we'll have to see how exactly, this next one unfolds. So that was, alone like 4 to 5 systems that we've had. So very, very active pattern. And notice, in terms of total snowfall, it's a wide area of the country that could be seeing very good amounts of snow, especially the northern plains, the west, even portions of the northeast. And this has been relatively consistent, with the model runs. Notice today at noon, it was still a very snowy pattern, and it was especially centered towards the, I guess, northern Minnesota area. Obviously, it switches around each model run because they don't know exactly the models where these storms will track. They just know that there will be many of them. And you can see some are more aggressive for certain areas than others. The latest one has a storm that's pretty far to the south. And again, that's just the snowfall. Total accumulated precip, again, as that 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlook show. Where's that 6 to 10 day outlook especially? A lot of rain potential. And you can see the GFS really does show a lot of rain for the southeast, but as well the northern plains, which is good news. These areas are still in a bit of a mediocre to moderate drought in some areas. 240 outlook from the Canadian model, so this is a different model. It doesn't go out as far, but notice it shows a lot of activity, and even again towards the north, a lot of that falling as snowfall. And you can see it also does include a system for the northeast and a lot of activity for the west. So let me track out the Canadian. Again, I don't really like this one as much, but it has done a very good job these last kind of few years. So, that's why I included. And notice, there's our system, right? It brings a lot of snow and precip towards the west, especially the coastal west. So that is good news. And notice, though, it doesn't bring snow and precip into California, Nevada. It's slow at first, but with the help of the Gulf of Mexico moisture and just the strengthening of the storm, it starts becoming more progressive. Again, drops quite a bit of snow potentially into North Dakota, South Dakota, and into portions of Minnesota. Quite a bit of rain with this on the southern side. And then we see, again, that little storm that the GFS showed following this one. The Canadian shows a bit further towards the south. Not good news, meaning that some of this rain for, say, cities like St. Louis could be a lot slower to move out, maybe creating some flooding conditions. A bit of snow on the northern side of this, and then that cold front kind of stalls out, but gets reinvigorated and produces some sort of a nor'easter. So, this is definitely still not the time to be, this excluding winter. And all models, the European, a very good one, right? Many people think it's their favorite. Look at the Northwest as we go through Tuesday, right? So that's tomorrow. Wednesday, we see that surge of moisture going through, a lot of warm air working into the United States, but we see those tightening air masses are battling out, and boom, there's our low pressure. Notice we have a little bits of, rain and snow precip out ahead of this in the warm front sector. In the cold front, we have a rather weak, again, sector, but it does eventually develop, and we have quite a bit of showers, thunder showers, storms, and across the northern side there is that snow, and you can see it does actually bring quite a bit of snow, potentially, a thud of snow into Canada before transitioning into kind of a rain. Notice there's that second system that all the models show. The European shows quite a bit of snow a bit further towards the south. Again, a powerful cold front moves out, and it doesn't quiet down. We have a lot of activity towards the south, another system moving in towards the northwest. Those two definitely are going to be our next systems to watch for. Notice there's a little energy piece right there that's very interesting. So a lot of activity, and I want to show you that the temperatures during this whole era of extremely volatile, I guess, storm making will be also all over the place. I mean, certain areas, right, we'll be seeing 60s on a few days this week, and then they could be seeing snowstorms the next few days. So let me show you this. I mean, just look at this. So today was a very warm day, right? It got into the 50s all the way into South Dakota. But look, as we get towards Friday, Saturday, look at all this cold air that spills into those same areas. And it's just a bouncing back and forth. Notice, you could tell it's spring when these temperatures here aren't, like 50s or 40s like it was during the winter. You go from warm, like very warm, almost hot, right, to extremely cold, bitter cold. And that is exactly what kind of stirs these very large systems. And look, right when that system occurs, we have these air masses that are really, really close to each other. 50s, 60s across Illinois. Further up north, I mean, we have well below freezing. And it's just those boundaries. And look, I mean, all the way up along the northeast coast, potentially next week, 70s. I mean, that's definitely not uncalled for. You're definitely above average, but it could happen, especially with such an atmosphere. And look, some areas that we're seeing 60s today will be in the single digits next week potentially. And again, sometimes, I mean, a lot of the, say, Midwest, southern Midwest will be very warm this week. Next week, different story. It will be a lot cooler. The bitter cold, yes, it stays more towards the north, right? But it's still making, again, that whole pattern available for these storms to occur in, as, again, these battling of air masses is just in full swing. And do note that towards the end of the forecast period, it looks as if that cold kind of wins out. And you can see it's a bit more, I guess, aggressive than, say, that warm air. And you can see even during the warm sector of the country, it's not as warm. It's 50s and 60s. But notice total precipitation from the European model at hour 240 again doesn't go out as far as the GFS. It goes out the same distance as the Canadian. Notice a lot of rain across the northwest on top of what has fallen. Decent amounts across the west, though. Hopefully this will be a bit higher. That's not too great. But then again, very wet conditions across the east, the northeast, and the south. Or sorry, the Midwest upper plains, including all the way from the south, is the large sector of the country wet. Notice it doesn't show a lot of precip there, but whether or not the GFS or Canadians right or European in that side, it's tough to tell. And you can see some of the snow is a bit further towards the south than what the models like the GFS showed. Which, just to show you, at that same time frame, hour 240, it showed it more towards the north and a bit more activity towards the west. So that's basically all I wanted to show you. I could show you a few ensembles, just show you what the future, I guess, holds based off of many models combined. It's a very good look at what's to come, because it's not just the one model that may be very skewed in its own perspective. And notice that as we put this forward, we start off with, again, a lot of warm air, a lot of cold air, these intrusions, and especially that intensification of these air masses. Then we have a system that blows through, and every time a system blows through, the cold air dips further south. Notice, again, that's why the southwest will be very cold by next weekend. And this is now 2 weeks out, and you can see that by the time we get towards mid-March, we have a lot of this cold air, not bitter cold, but below average, centered yet again across the majority of the United States. So again, a lot of warm air, brief periods of very nice conditions, a brief taste of spring, as people would describe it, but then more cold air settles in. Again, not everyone, but most of the country, excluding the southwest and maybe portions of the southeast, will be very cold by below average by the mid half of the month. But even areas like the southwest will get in on their fair share of chilly temperatures. Just it won't be as prolonged. You can see a lot of warm air working in there towards the long range. And I could show you a model run that the GFS models put out every once in a while, and I think it's every 2 days or every day, but it just takes a long time to progress. It goes out to 800 hours, so very far out. Not really accurate, but it gives us a good idea of what may come. And notice that by kind of mid to late March, the cold air, it's still there, but we have a lot of warming up above average. Not just warming up, but above average across the south. So obviously people are like, oh no kidding, it's spring, it's gonna get warmer. But this is based on averages. And notice that towards the end of the month, we really see that cold air kind of losing its grip, and more of the warm becoming a bit more dominant. And this is how it was. This is how it looked like, most of February. We had those bitter cold air masses, and even now, a lot of that warm air isn't as widespread. But towards the end of the month, the cold air starts waning, and it may be a bit of a warmer pattern. But again, not an all-out warm pattern for the whole country. It could be pretty chilly for the northern third. All right, but again, that's far out. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya.